Guys, to another class build in Modern Warfare. Today this one's going to be a little bit of a funnier kind of setup, and it's really going over the Wild West kind of I don't know, class setup. So you can turn yourself into a modern day cowboy if you want to. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll be going over stuff that's typically going over what a cowboy would usually be using in the Wild West with the guns that Modern Warfare actually used or gave me. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. The very first one that you guys should all be expecting is the Mark II Carbine. It's a lever action rifle. It's a very old-timey kind of style setup to it, and they actually have a couple blueprints to go along with it to where it actually looks more like a kind of a Western kind of gun. Now there's two of them that I have here. It's either Brushstroke, that's a legendary one, has like a bunch of really cool like on the yellow kind of color and engravings and stuff all over it, or Golden Age, which I think I would actually put, or I'd actually pick over this one because it's not as flashy and it still keeps like a pretty good look to it. So it looks a little bit more what you would have realistically in the West. So it's really going to be using attachments on here that do not have like a futuristic kind of a set to it. So that means no muzzles, like a monolithic suppressor or anything like that. To my understanding, in the Wild West, they didn't really have suppressors to their guns, so we're not going to be putting that on. Now, maybe flash guards, I'm not really sure about, but probably not. I'm just going to leave it to where it has no muzzle. Laser sights you won't have. Optics you won't really have either, because, that's not really a big thing in the West. Now stocks are open to the table, like anything like that you can run on. Probably like the cartridge sleeve would be probably a better one if you want to run that on there. This one has the ultralight hollow, so you can put that on there. You could run the cartridge sleeve that actually probably looks a little bit better, so I want to be running on that. I put it on sleight of hand because I want to fill at least one kind of attachment slot here. Plus this thing only has 6 rounds in it max, so it's actually pretty good to have sleight of hand on there all the time. Stipple grip tape just to make it to where it's a little bit faster, and I believe this is the longest barrel, second longest barrel thing yet. It gives it more of a smooth black kind of look to it, but if you don't want to run that, you don't need to. But I'm going to put that on there. I'm really just going to be using this blueprint. It's actually perfect how it is for the Golden Age, and that's what I'm going to be using right here. After that, we're going to be going to the secondary. It is the 357 revolver. It is the only gun I can probably find for the actual secondary that looks like more of a cowboy kind of weapon, because to my knowledge, there's not really anything else. I guess you can use the 725 if you want to, but I'll be using the 357 for now. So we want to put that on. So 357, also very similar story. It does have its own like blueprints that you can use. There's keepsake. It makes it to where it's a little bit more gold and wood kind of color. Or let me see, I think there's Tycoon right here, which you can also use as well. Gives it awesome looking engravings and stuff on it, so it's more of a silver kind of look. I'm going to be running that because that looks a little bit better in my opinion, so you can run that. I'll take off the stock. You can keep the barrel on there if you want to. It makes it more like an actual Western kind of gun. Lightweight trigger's fine, same deal. You want to make it to where it doesn't have any kind of really, I don't know, kind of futuristic kind of tech to it. Let's see what looks good on this guy. Nothing really. Guess you could run keepsake or something on there to make it to where it looks like that. But yeah, so this is pretty much what it's going to be. A very similar story. It's going to have the 357 long barrel, lightweight trigger, the stipple grip tape, and the sleight of hand perk on there. While the Golden Age is using the second longest barrel, the stipple grip tape, sleight of hand, and the cartridge sleeve. So pretty much all you're going to be using right there. It's not really built to make it to where it's the fastest you could possibly get the gun, but it's not really going to matter. This is really just there for kind of fun. Perks, now there is a couple of them that I kind of went through on here. So double time would be fine. All that is really just making it to where you guys can run longer, but I went with scavenger not only because it actually shows a vulture that's on there, so it's kind of setting more for the West, but you can also just resupply ammo from dead players. It's nothing futuristic kind of stuff like cold-blooded, kill chain, or quick fix kind of deal, so it's a real good option that I think in my opinion. High Alert, that one's just more for reaction time, you know, more of a draw kind of deal if you want to pull it off. Restock, Hard Line, and Overkill. I guess you can run Overkill if you want to. If you want to run the 725 on there, you can. Ghost, not really. And Point Man, not so much. And a couple of these for perk 3. I went with Tracker. Makes it to where that you can see enemies' footprints and their death locations are hidden from you. If you don't want to go with that, you can probably go with Shrapnel, where you can carry just extra lethals on you. I'll go over that in a second. That's also a really good one. Actually, I'd rather probably put that on there. And lethals. Now, the only one that actually would make sense in this time period would either be a throwing knife that you can use, or the actual Molotov cocktail. So, one of those two would be just fine. Now, flaming throwing knife, I think you could possibly get away with, but aside from that, you can't really do anything else. So I just want to go ahead, you know, went with a Molotov here. And a tactical, this is the only thing that I can't really figure out anything that would be, you know, set in its kind of time. Maybe more or less like a smoke grenade you can throw out, but I just went with a gas grenade. It's not really something you can change to make it to where it fits more. But yeah, so this is pretty much the Wild West class setup in Modern Warfare. It has pretty awful guns, to be honest with you, that they're not really the best, but they can definitely kill someone in one shot. The 357 Magnum can kill someone in one shot to the head, and the Mark II Carbine can kill someone in the upper chest, and it shoots fairly fast too, so it's really good and snappy, but it's still not really the best. It's more or less like a hit marker machine. So this is what the gun looks like.
Team Deathmatch. You are clear to engage all threats. We've taken control.
I guess if you wanted to, you can also use Overkill, or not Overkill, Akimbo.
Okay.
So you can be like the cowboys that just fire back and forth with each gun. You can absolutely do that if you want to. So if you don't want to run sleight of hand, you can absolutely run Akimbo.
Enemy in the open. UAV ready for deployment.
Last mag! Running low!
Does anyone else see my hand glitching on the top right? Yeah, so you can do this if you wanted to, so you can have technically 3 guns with you, but it doesn't have any kind of lasers to it, so it's not really run accurate. Yeah, so this is pretty much the Wild West, guys. It's a really cool setup. Now, if you don't want to run the Magnums, you can absolutely run the 725. It's the same story. You know, you would want more or less like attachments that are not futuristic. Not futuristic. Futuristic in terms of, you know, like being back in the West. Modern time would be more futuristic technically. So really, all you could really put down is like a barrel. A grip is not really an option here. Then you put on the Tempest Sport. A Tempest Sport is like a wooden one, so you can put that on there. So really only about 3 attachments you can put on this sucker to keep it, you know, original kind of looking.
Enemy in the warehouse. I'm in.
So yeah, so I really recommend using this like in custom games if you want to. I would not try it in actual public matches. I mean, you can probably get away with it, but it's not really meant to be the best gun in the world or like the best class in the world here. So
UAV ready for deployment. Enemy at the center.
Yeah, so I'd try to use it with friends and stuff. Try out.
We never forget a face.
I guess technically you can use the Car 98 if you want to as well, so you do have a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to the primary, but that's more of a gun that's used in more World War I and II kind of settings. So definitely still somewhat in its time range, so you can technically get away with it there. So I think you should be fine using the Car 98. But aside from that, there's not really any other like old-time kind of guns you could possibly use without it going outside of the Western kind of theme here. So yeah, there you go, guys. The Western Wild West kind of setup. If you guys want to play with this on your friends or anything, or if you want to even try to get a game with me, you can. I did play with one of my subscribers a good ways back. We actually had a pretty good time there playing with the SPR 208 kind of guns or the Remington 700s. So it was really cool. More for like a quick scope kind of stuff. But yeah, so I have this build going up now. It's more of a team kind of setup. And I'll have a very similar kind of build going towards you guys, and it's going along the same deal. Like, if you can technically get kills with these kind of builds, it's just not the best weapons to be using or the best kind of builds that you can use to get the most out of them.
UAV ready for
hope you guys
deployment.
enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.